Every year there seems like there's a fire up here at some point. And then we're always out here planting sagebrush because it doesn't come back very fast on its own. I think it's like 25 years before they get to be really big sagebrush. I went to a conference, a Partners in Science conference one year, and I heard some of the research that other teachers were doing with mentors. And I thought, it's time maybe I learn how to be a scientist, because I know a lot about being a science teacher, but had been out of the scientist part of it for a while.
Partners in Science is a partnership between high school science teachers and a research mentor, somebody in a research facility that is doing science.
So there's an opportunity for them to do research, learn some of those practices, and then bring those back to the classroom.
If you're trying to teach science students or high school students how to be researchers or scientists, if you've had an experience doing research, you can be that much better a teacher. So I think that's the key to the whole program.
I'm Sandra Gully. I teach sophomore chemistry at Renaissance High School in the West Ada School District, and I have been teaching science for, this will be my 19th year.
My name is Gina Lockwood, and I teach at Bora High School in Boise, Idaho. I teach AP Environmental Science and non-AP Environmental Science. Personally, I had been out of a research setting for over 20 years, and I wanted to see how science was being done and how it had changed, and it has. I mean, we have drone technology, we have 3D printers now. The things that we can do out in the field are changing so quickly that I wanted to bring that to my students to make sure that they were learning cutting-edge science.
This is my second summer in it. The first year you're a partner, you do research, which was a lot of learning techniques last summer. So this summer, just continuing with the same research.
Sandra comes with a background in chemistry. We're actually a biology lab, but luckily she did major in biology as an undergrad, so it wasn't too foreign to her. But to watch her progress in terms of her ability to speak about research is amazing.
My teaching style was basically step-by-step procedures. The kids still were doing investigations, but I think I was always afraid to just let them go with it and let them figure it out on their own.
Partners in Science follows this model. It's called Think Like a Scientist. I always did that before, but I do it more with a purpose now. I have specific vocabulary I use all the time. We set up our journals in a very specific manner. I have them coming up with questions to answer rather than me spoon-feeding it all to them.
What I learned from the model that helped me be a better teacher in that regard is let's use some inquiry and let's have students do a little bit of background research and then let them tinker around with their design and ask some questions and keep going back to that drawing board so they can learn the process of science and not so much what's going to come out of it, but just learn the process and really have fun while they're doing it as well.
We're constantly doing different things. We're not just sitting there opening up a textbook and looking through and reading about it and taking a quiz on it. We're very hands-on.
Getting the students out in the field, they are really doing what scientists are doing. They're doing all those skills of analyzing, observing, collecting data, communicating that data.
You see what's happening, you get it. It's not just you see a picture and you kind of get it. You see it actually happening.
One thing I've noticed with the students from teachers that have gone through Partners in Science is they have excelled in our science classes. We have quite a few AP classes and a lot of different variety of classes, and those kids are now taking more of those than ever before in our district, and that's pretty exciting for me.
If the world was perfect, all my students would end up in some kind of science field.
I just fell in love after our first field trip. We went to the watershed and we got to do testing above and below the effluent pipe. And so that's what I want to go into now, so I'm really glad I took this class.
If they're excited about science, likely they'll continue that on in college.
We can also see that these high school teachers are able to write to Murdoch for equipment grants.
So when they were able to spend $5,000 to $7,000 on equipment that they can use in their classroom, that is not just helping the teachers in the classroom, it helps our teachers district-wide, because we do some professional development opportunities where we'll all come to Gina's classroom and say, hey, show us some of these things you're doing with Sagebrush.
So they can actually be planning during the summer experiments they want their students to be doing with equipment that the school would never even have if it weren't for the Murdoch Partners in Science grant.
This program has given us money for equipment, allowed us for professional development for other teachers, and again, excites students in science.
I wish that every science teacher had this great opportunity, because then we'd all be thinking on the same plane.
If you need a boost, if you need to learn more about science, this is the place to go.
For me, I can't see why you wouldn't want to have a high school teacher working in your lab. You have the mature person that you're teaching, but they can also be teaching you and your students things that you didn't know about.
It's been a very rich experience for me that's been life-changing for my career.